As a reward for the previous event with Wolf, the king of Ishtalika has permitted Ain to go out shopping in Castle Town. Christina and Klon accompany him. Ain worries that he might have bought too many clothes for himself as he doesn't want to overspend on expensive things. However, Christina points out that since Ain is the crown prince, wearing cheap things won't suit him. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind makes Ain shiver, and this makes him wonder if he might need some warm clothes for the winter. Klon lauds the beauty of the harbor's crescent shape. However, Christina points out that there is an awful number of reefs near the open sea. She narrates that the continent became like this after the monster attack. Christina becomes solemn and adds that the monster is really mighty and has the power of controlling the waves of the sea. The monster is called the Sea Dragon. Christina further tells him that the Sea Dragon sank countless ships and tens of thousands of people have become its victims. She declares that in Ishtalika's spanning history, the Sea Dragon is only second to the Demon Lord for the most human casualties. Christina mentions that the monster appears in a cycle of roughly 100 to 200 years. When Klon shows signs of anxiousness, Christina assures her that compared to that time, their country has developed many technical abilities and is prepared for any future assault. Later, the ladies also visited an exclusive store for women, where Laurel, Ain's grandmother, usually shops. Ain remembers to buy something special for someone. After a few days, the whole castle celebrates Ain's 8th birthday, and everyone, especially the king of Ishtalika, is rejoicing. Meanwhile, Olivia presents Ain a pen with Ishtalika's coat of arms engraved on it, and Klon gives him a silver bracelet. Ain wonders why Christina hasn't attended his party. Suddenly, Olivia and Klon urge Ain to go to the balcony, and there, to his surprise, Christina appears making lame excuses for her late appearance. She then presents him with a scarf, all teary-eyed, and wishes him a happy birthday. It dawns on Ain that on the day they went shopping, Christina exclusively bought a scarf for him just because he was feeling very cold that day. However, Christina completely denies it and fumbles uncomfortably that she hasn't bought anyone a present before. Hilariously, she throws a tantrum when Ain begins to chuckle. It is then Ain also presents her with a beautiful necklace that he bought earlier for someone special. He tells her that she is special because she has always taken care of him. It's really funny how Christina creates a fuss about being given too much importance, and she blushes furiously. One fine day, Ain warns Bats that a creature is coming towards him. Bats immediately takes a leap and finishes off that creature by swinging his sword at the target. Bats brags about his grand movement when Leonardo comes along and reminds him that it was because of Ain he was able to make that move. Ain ponders that due to a certain event, he and his 3 friends have gathered on a solitary island close to the coast of the Ishtalika continent. The story moves to a month earlier when the class teacher announces that there will be a field trip at the beginning of the year. The teacher begins to give instructions that the first and second classes would form teams having 4 members each. The goal of each group is to cross a specifically assigned island on foot in the span of 3 days. The teacher adds dramatically that the only obstruction is that there are monsters on that island. The teacher specifies that initially, all the supplies like food, magic, tools, etc. will be provided to them so they don't have to bring anything on their own. The teacher allows each student to choose his own team. In this way, Ain forms the team with Roland, Bats, and Leonardo, who thankfully approach him by themselves as our poor little prince still lacks confidence in himself. Bats admits that Professor Rook really scared him a lot, but he feels that since they are a group of toppers, they can easily pin down any monster they want. However, Dill Glacier, their group escort, warns him not to be overconfident as monsters may not be the only threat they will be facing. They begin their journey, and when it gets darker, Ain asks Leonardo to set up a camp. Leonardo uses his magic and a huge seal formation emerges beneath their feet. Ain praises the individual's impressive barrier skills, expressing confidence that it's sufficient to fend off the looming monster threat. Ain is satisfied with the rabbit that will serve for food purposes, but they are unable to find clean water. This is where Roland offers to use his purifying skills. Dill warns Roland that he is not supposed to bring any magic tools, however. Roland clarifies that he will purify the water at this moment. Soon he adjusts the vector of the magic stones that the monsters drop and then changes it to purification magic. He then drops the stone into the muddy water, and Bats says that he has never tasted such amazing water before. Ain wonders whether it is that easy to create magic tools. Ain thinks that his current team is a successful one with Bats as the fighter, while Leonardo and Roland are the back support. Bats then take out some bizarre kinds of fruits, but are not sure whether they are edible. This is where Ain uses his poison absorption skills and finds out that the fruits are quite edible. However, it can be seen that he doesn't reveal his skill to his team members. Soon they prepare a roast rabbit and invite Dill to join them. Graciously accepting, the individual then presents a bag of tea leaves. There is an argument between all about adhering to ground rules. However, Bat says that it is more important to enjoy the event. Soon the guys tease Leonardo for getting engaged. Hilariously, Ain cries because he thought Leo and he were such good friends, and he didn't tell him first. They all have a merry time eating and making jokes. The next day they begin their journey amidst thick fog, and Bats warn all of them not to get separated. The fog is so dense that they can't even see their own feet. This is where Roland is about to have an accidental fall from a steep cliff when his friends grab his hand. Suddenly, Ain realizes that Dill has gotten lost, and then they are ambushed by crow butterflies, monsters that are not supposed to be on this island. Roland asks about the level of danger the flies pose. Bats tells him that they are weaker than red bison, but they always act as a swarm, so their numbers are dangerous. Both Bats and Ain begin to ward off those threatening flying monsters. Bats warns Roland to keep the flies off his tail, as Roland's body will be paralyzed and the flies will lay eggs on it. The team decides to escape while Ain and Bats protect their front and back respectively. At some distance, the team is relieved to be able to shake them off. Bats condemns Ain for shouting out earlier, as that attracted crow flies towards them. However, Ain says that he was really worried about Dill, that's why he lost his cool. Roland assures Ain that Dill will be fine, as he is one of the strongest students in the academy. Leonardo, inquisitive as ever, questions Ain about Christina's secretive protective role. Ain swiftly denies it, explaining that Christina is, in fact, out with his mother on some business. Soon they decide to progress as much as they can in the 2 days and manage to successfully hide from those treacherous crow butterflies. Later they come across a clearing and decide to rest there for that day, as they are exhausted to the core. As Ain contemplates camping in a nearby cave, Bats swiftly shoots down the idea, citing the potential cave hazards. According to him, these caves could be filled with old magic or monster corpses, brewing a cocktail of trouble waiting to happen. He adds further that the miasma formed is poison to anything but the ones that live there in the first place, both humans and beasts. While all his friends have called the night, Ain is sitting by the bonfire thinking about Dill, and the crow flies when suddenly an idea strikes him by recalling Roland's story. He abruptly awakens Roland and asks for one of his magic stones in order to store miasma. The next morning, they are again ambushed by a sea of crowflies. Ain is carrying that magic stone filled with miasma, and he asks Leonardo to form a barrier around them. Leonardo obeys, and meanwhile, he is creating one. A crowdfire captures Bats but is saved in time by Ain. Soon the barrier is formed, and the team members are thankfully secured by the vicious attacks of the flying monsters. This is when Ain goes outside the barrier and throws that miasma-filled stone toward the beasts, thus killing them all. However, he himself remains unaffected for obvious reasons. It is then he reveals to his friends that he has poison resistance skills, to their astonishment. Later they reach the designated peninsula, where Dill is already waiting for them. Dill lauds all of them for efficiently taking care of the monsters, and Ain predicts all of that was plotted by his grandfather, the king of Ishtalika. Dill affirms that and says that it was because the king wants him to grow more. Fancy putting the crown heir's life in danger. Dill reveals that all that time Christina was hiding to ensure Ain's safety. This proves that Bats is a great forecaster. Dill, in a fit of guilt, offers a heartfelt apology to Ain for causing him distress. In response, Ain, with a mischievous twist, assigns Dill the punishment of using his name, claiming it to be the ultimate torment, although Ain knew it wouldn't work and mentioned that he would try again another time. But Dill, with a sudden change of mood, utters that calling his name would be disrespectful to the crown prince, and asks a favor from Ain, that they should get along together from here on out, as he calls his name, which surprises Ain. He was dumbfounded, and everyone started to smile and laugh at the playful atmosphere. Ain, feeling happy, uttered that it was simply an anticlimactic situation and understood Dill while forgiving him. As their field trip wraps up, Ain hops on a ship with Christina for the journey home. Amid their casual chatter, a sudden loud thud rocks the ship, sending tremors through the air. A man informs Christina about the beast in the sea. Christina begins to observe that the beast is larger than the ship they are in. Its large fins are in proportion to its body. Long, sharp fangs that seem like they can crush a small ship within a bite. Ain immediately recognizes the beast as the sea dragon, however. The sea dragon doesn't chase their ship, and even after a few months, the sea dragon doesn't step up. It has been 6 months since the day the sea dragon showed up. So Ain's days are pretty much ordinary and pass in studies and training. Ain has turned 9 years old and has advanced to his 3rd level without any problem. One fine day, he's taking a stroll with Christina after school, when almost abruptly Christina adjusts his crooked necktie with a flushed face. What the lady is up to is not clear. Amid the scene, a guard discreetly shares a secret with Christina, prompting her sudden departure. Ain is confused and insists a guard tell him what is going on. The guard reveals to him that a monster identified as a national crisis has appeared, and Christina has been sent to deal with it. A siren of danger rings in Ain's ears. Ain barges into the conference room in order to see his grandfather, and there he finds Olivia and his grandfather having serious talks with many other higher officials. Ain notices that the number of knights in the castle is low and all the people seem worried sick. This is when the king breaks to him that there are actually 2 sea dragons to be dealt with. The king is worried about the casualties it will cause. He adds that he had to act fast to avoid further destruction, so for that he sent Christina. Ain shouts at the top of his lungs that if the monster is so hazardous, then Christina is sent alone to fight it, and they must fight with all the castle's military power. The king calms him down and tells him that all their naval power, which boasts of lots of firepower, is sent. Not only that, but 90% of the knights have been consulted, and adventurers are also requested to join that battle. It can be seen how valiant our prince is, as just by thinking about the sea dragon paralyzes him with fear. But then he musters up all his courage and informs his grandfather that he will be going to Magna to fight with the sea dragon along with Christina. The king condemns him for this decision, and Lloyd reminds Ain that he is now a prince, as his body is not the only thing that is owned. Ain reasons that he cannot sit and wait like this, and if it were the first king, then he would fight against it. In a twist of events, the king reluctantly concedes, only for Lloyd to unexpectedly strike Ain's spinal cord, rendering him unconscious. Olivia, rightfully enraged, catches the king's attention. In a bid to control the situation, the king commands Marsh to remove Olivia, while giving Lloyd strict instructions to place Ain in Kadima's room. It can be seen that Ain is put under house arrest, where he tries his best to get out, but no one is answering his call. Out of frustration, he wonders why he is unable to use Phantom Hand's magic. He is very much worried about Christina fighting 2 monsters when Kadima asks him to calm down and informs him that a powerful seal that makes magic ineffective has been cast in her room. Kadima asks him to be patient and pray for Christina's safe return. He begins to pray silently when he gets a signal from God to look closely around the room. He suddenly finds the cursed magic stone placed in a glass cubicle. Kadima tries his level best to stop him, but Ain apologizes to her and takes out the stone from the cubicle. Suddenly, massive tentacles emerge out of Ain, which makes one wonder how a little boy like Ain can balance those gigantic phantom hands. Kadima wonders how Ain is unable to use the magic within the seal, and then it clicks to her that he is using the cursed stone. She attempts to pull Ain away, but to her surprise, he skillfully paralyzes her body. Ain feels like he has been hugged and caressed by a god, as the feeling is very warm and sweet as he hugs the cursed stone. To Kadima's horror, Ain has absorbed all the curse of the stone, making it as pure as crystal. Kadima warns him that the stone can get out of control like before, but Ain doesn't listen to her and breaks off the seal. Soon he gets out of the room, only to be isolated by Klon. He promises her that he will return, so she pecks him on his cheek and says that it is from the goddess. He then goes ahead only to face a much bigger hurdle, that is Lloyd with his troops. Ain tells him that he is just going for a stroll at the harbor. Ain and Lloyd have a face-off where Lloyd charges toward him with his sword while Ain wards him off with restrictive magic. It seems that he has suddenly gotten a surge and Lloyd gives up, allowing Ain to do whatever he wants, but not to forget that he has a huge responsibility on his shoulders. After crossing the maze-like castle, Ain finally breathes fresh air when Dill comes along and offers to accompany him wherever he goes, because although he serves Ishtalika, but personally, he is his servant. Dill then explains to him how they will get to Magna, but Ain points out that the said route is very long. Dill then urges Ain to overwrite the king's current regular order that he put out. Ain, as the crown's heir, has every right to do so. However, if Ain is caught doing so, he can be exiled from the royal family. Ain decides to take the risk and run the water train all by himself. He expresses gratitude to Dill for planting an idea in his mind, while Dill responds with a sigh. The sea dragon has broken havoc in the town, however. Christina orders her troops that the dragon's magic stone is on its forehead, and if they manage to break it, then they will win. A distraught Christina is fretting that they managed to injure just one dragon, and with this only they lost half of their people. She feels that the sea dragon is about to ambush, so she asks the cannons to be fired. The cannon balls hit the target, knocking off the magic stone of the monster. The soldiers are elated, but Christina reminds them that they managed to kill one out of 2 dragons and they must not let their guard down. Meanwhile, the same dragon tries to bite off Christina's ship before dying, even if its magic stone is depleted. As the looming threat of the next sea dragon intensifies, Christina, in a sudden move, vanishes into a thick fog. Soon she comes to know that the fog is created by Ain, who used it to impair her vision. Will you please keep out of it? Christina urges Ain to go back because he can get hurt. However, he proudly announces that he is Ain, the order of the royal family. He pleads for support from others to fight against the sea dragon. He asks Christina to obediently execute his orders. Christina has no choice but to do so. Ain puts her in charge of the ships. Meanwhile, he begins his battle with the sea dragon. He draws out his phantom hands and puts them inside the dragon's mouth. Suddenly, the sea dragon stops roaring and Ain chuckles that the training with Red Bison came in handy. He then decides to absorb the sea dragon's magic stone, dry with the help of Straw of Darkness. It can be seen that the poor lad is absorbing poison in his mouth because he still cannot see the end of the poison in the sea dragon. He then decides to use the technique underwater, and he feels that his strength is leaving him. But he tries to resurrect his powers. He decides to use the poison sucked into the magic stone into magic again, and the whole thing is definitely boggling our minds. He then stabs his dagger into the forehead of the monster, which leads to a deafening roar that echoes throughout the city, and everyone knew that the sea dragon had been defeated. The sea dragon's defeat took its toll on Ain, rendering him unconscious, his protective amulet, having given its all, shattered into pieces, signaling the extent of its effort to safeguard its wearer, with Ain nowhere in sight. Christina, displaying a surprising blend of determination and impulsiveness, swiftly sheds her armor and plunges into the ocean depths. Miraculously, she locates the unconscious Ain, a mix of relief and sadness washing over her as she assesses his condition in the watery embrace. After a spell of unconsciousness, Ain finally opens his eyes, only to discover that his body isn't cooperating due to the injuries. In true Ain fashion, he takes it in stride, noting the unfortunate situation with a wry smile. Christina and Dill, standing by his side, display a mix of shock and relief at Ain's awakening. Despite Ain feeling a bit numb, he's optimistic, doubting that he'll be paralyzed for life. Dill, still processing the situation, marvels at Ain's nonchalant attitude toward his injuries. Christina, on the other hand, engages in her usual fussing. Ain, in his usual cool manner, explains that surviving a 50-50 situation is a stroke of luck. Christina, not buying into luck, points dramatically to Ain's chest. Ain then notices that the ruby he received from Warren has shattered into pieces, a signal that the protective stone did its job in saving him from near death. Ain, realizing the gravity of the situation, acknowledges that he could have died if not for the protective stone. Christina, moved to tears, expresses her fears about what might have happened if Ain didn't make it. He's taken aback by her sudden emotional shift, listens as Christina earnestly requests that he avoid putting himself in such perilous situations. Ain, being the gentleman he is, apologizes and agrees to her plea. However, in a twist of mood, Ain, with a grin, informs Christina that the sea dragon's magic stone was a culinary delight, exquisitely complex flavors of the sea, intensified. Ain's whimsical chatter about the sea dragon's magic stone left both Christina and Dill utterly baffled. Christina, in a surprising turn, burst into laughter at Ain's unexpected topic. Just as they were digesting Ain's peculiar musings, a guard chimed in with the news that they were nearing the capital, en route to the castle. Dill couldn't shake off the worry about potential consequences for defying the king's orders. Thoughts of a possible death sentence loomed, but deep down, he harbored no regrets. Serving Ain brought him genuine happiness. Meanwhile, Ain, taking a glance from the balcony, spotted a massive crowd of citizens below, celebrating his triumphant return. The crowned prince was back, and the capital was alive with joy and festivity. Warren, the ever-efficient guide, welcomed the young prince with a nod and directed Ain to follow him. The destination? A meeting with none other than Ain's granddad, the king, who eagerly awaited his audience. As he stepped into the royal presence, the king, amidst the chaos of kingly duties, took a moment to congratulate Ain. He commended Ain's initiative in defeating the sea dragons, ensuring the safety of Ishtalika. Warren chimed in, extending congratulations for Ain's epic battle, highlighting the sea dragon's corpse as a jackpot, 20 times the national budget. The king, in awe of the zero predicted damages thanks to the extermination squad, led by Christina, hailed Ain as a true hero. Ain basked in the glory of praise from the king, feeling like a star in his own royal drama. However, the mood took a turn when the king mentioned the collateral damage caused by Ain's actions. A royal water train and a nearly obliterated ship. Just as the king was about to spill the beans on Ain's supporters, Dill, with a mix of courage and readiness, admitted it was him. But Ain, ever the brave soul, cut in like a knight with a revelation. He boldly confessed that he alone manipulated the royal order to make Dill follow his lead. Ain insisted that if anyone were to face consequences, it should be him. Lloyd, witnessing Ain's valor, took it up a notch, kneeling and bowing. He offered to take the punishment, claiming he failed as a marshal to stop Ain. In a twist that left Ain and Dill dumbfounded, the king erupted in laughter. Turns out he had no intention of punishing Dill. With a wave of his royal hand, the king cleared Ain of criminal charges, citing his recent accomplishments. A sigh of relief swept through Ain, only to be replaced by the king's decision. 2 months of house arrest at the castle. But the royal pronouncements didn't end there. Lloyd got a demotion from marshal to the king's exclusive escort, while Christina, with her stellar service, was promoted to the new marshal. The king, feeling the weight of his royal duties, declared the meeting over. However, Warren, ever the forward thinker, realized the impending storm with his mother and Claude. Now faced with unexpected repercussions, couldn't help but be shocked by the impending reprimands he was about to endure. The royal drama unfolded with a mix of laughter, sighs, and the looming storm of familial disapproval. As Ain walks through the castle halls, he encounters Claude, who's doing her best to hide the fact that she's been shedding a few tears. Ain, the observant soul he is, sees through her act. Claude, insisting it's just relief that he kept his promise to return, suddenly clenches her fist and playfully jabs it into Ain's chest, a silent admission of the worry she'd been harboring. Ain, catching on, offers a heartfelt apology. After a brief but meaningful embrace, Claude shifts the conversation to more pressing matters. She asks if Ain has visited his mother yet. He confesses he hasn't, wanting to meet Claude first. However, she urges him to go immediately, hinting at the seriousness of the situation, bracing himself. Ain heads to his mother's room, announcing his presence with a knock. To his surprise, he opens the door to a scene straight out of a magical jungle, with tree roots sprawling everywhere. Olivia, his mother, emerges in relief that he's unharmed. Ain, understandably baffled, questions the root situation. Olivia, in a mix of embarrassment and stress, dismisses it as something he shouldn't witness. As Olivia gently touches Ain's cheek, concern etched on her face, Ain experiences an unexpected emotional release. Tears stream down his face, a mystery to both mother and son. Olivia, in a tender moment, reassures him. She praises his safe return and encourages him to let go of any suppressed feelings. In Kadima's room, Our hero, Ain, found himself on the receiving end of Kadima's disapproval. She wasn't thrilled about Ain's crown prince antics, restricting her body and absorbing a cursed magic stone, a big no-no. Ain, realizing his royal mess-up, offered a sincere apology. After a round of Kadima's magical first aid, she inquired about Ain's well-being. Ain, with his usual positive flair, claimed his arm felt as good as new. However, Christina, playing the nurturing card, insisted on providing care until he reached peak health. Just as things seemed to settle, Kadima, with a dramatic paw on Ain's shoulder, commanded him to chuck his status card. Curiosity bubbled up as Kadima sought insight into Ain's newfound powers. As they huddled to inspect the status card, Christina and Kadima were treated to a spectacle of impressive numbers, thanks to the National Treasure magic stones. Ain, hoping for a higher score, couldn't hide a hint of disappointment. Kadima reassured him that power gains take time. Yet, Ain, fixated on a peculiar detail, questioned why his job title was named. Kadima, bewildered at the unexpected boost in strength, Ain discovered a new addition to his repertoire, the ocean current, likely a gift from the sea dragon. As if that weren't enough, he stumbled upon another gem, the great sorcery. Kadima, the resident expert, nearly dropped her cup of tea upon hearing this, revealing that it was a high-class monster magic skill that was thought to be extinct. Christina, always the encyclopedia of unexpected knowledge, chimed in. She nonchalantly linked the great sorcery to the elder lich. Ain and Kadima, wearing matching expressions of surprise, couldn't fathom how Christina knew this juicy tidbit. Kadima, in her usual fiery manner, demanded an explanation, and Christina, with a nervous expression, spilled the nostalgic beans. She had casually read it in Kadima's old elven letters. The revelation left both Ain and Kadima dumbfounded, and Kadima, not one to shy away from expressing her annoyance, wondered aloud why Christina hadn't shared this bombshell earlier. Moving on from the mild drama, Christina pointed to an image and spun a tale of the elder lich, a monster power couple as it turned out. The Elder and Dullahan were tag-teaming in support of the Demon Lord, even throwing in some real estate development for good measure, and found himself intrigued by the mysterious union of a dagger and a cursed magic stone. As he pondered the significance, memories of a married couple's magic stone lingered in his mind, prompting a curious quest for understanding. Just as Ain was lost in thought, a sharp knock echoed through the door to his surprise. It was none other than Klon. Klon revealed that a messenger from the August Company had urgently summoned Christina and Lloyd to the harbor. The reason? Well, it was a bit fishy. Christina, being the sharp-minded soul she was, questioned the logic behind heading to the harbor. Why not let the August Company deal with the Sea Dragon debacle themselves? Klon admitted she hadn't heard specifics, but mentioned something about an egg-shaped object discovered in the Sea Dragon's corpse. And so, with uncertainty hanging in the air like a magician's cloak, heading toward the harbor, the trio of Christina, Lloyd, and a band of soldiers found an unexpected addition to their entourage, none other than the Crown Prince himself. The group's mission was simple yet perplexing. Lloyd aimed to confirm the nature of the Sea Dragon's egg. Graff, the skeptic of the crew, sought assurance from both Lloyd and Christina. With a flourish, Graff presented the egg-like object, only to have it rudely interrupt the meeting by hatching. Instantly, battle-ready vibes filled the air. Lloyd, the voice of reason, declared that whatever emerged should be kept far from Ain. Christina, always in sync with Lloyd, nodded in agreement. Ain, seemingly aware of the impending chaos, nonchalantly acknowledged the situation. As the egg cracked open, the unexpected guests were revealed, not one, but two adorable baby sea dragons. Cue the AWs from the onlookers. However, the cuteness took a dark turn when Lloyd, ready to brandish his sword, and Christina, stern-faced, were set on dispatching the sea dragon offspring. Ain, sensing trouble, intervened, expressing doubt and asking Lloyd to hold off. Approaching the baby sea dragons with a smile, Ain performed a surprising plot twist. The little creatures were overjoyed and cuddled up to him. Shocked expressions filled the group, prompting Ain to drop the bombshell that the dragons probably saw him as their parent due to the magic stone he had absorbed from their deceased parents. With negotiations on the table, Ain proposed sparing the dragons. However, Lloyd and Christina, not swayed by the cuteness, were quick to agree to the lethal option. Ain, the voice of compassion, asked for a day to explore an alternative, seeking his grandfather's permission to raise the sea dragon twins.